This content is for informational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained on here constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer by Draper Goren Holm or any third-party service provider to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments whatsoever.
Hey everyone, it is me. We are here. Joseph is here too. Say hi, Joseph.
Hey, what's up?
Boom, boom, boom. We're recording.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
I am recording this on the computer now.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Boom. All right. It says it's recording. Boom, 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 boom. I am apparently recording.
The entire bottle of control. They're all exactly the same.
Crypto art, and then what it really is an NFT.
Wow. Eddie wants to slap the bag.
So this is the next best thing.
DeFi is going to be a bubble.
It's provably scarce.
With Mad Dog.
Crypto, gold, and silver.
Transparent substance.
Take my money, start a war with it.
Without further ado.
Cheers to you, brother.
Get shit done. Because the system has to collapse before that.
Corona. Cheers. I feel much better now.
Cheers.
Wow, that was heavy.
Boom. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. You know, every time I hear that intro, all I'm thinking is I've got to get Alon and Doug DeMuro onto the same video feed where it's like, boom, this is a 1985 Alon Goren. You know, something of that side.
That would be awesome. What was really funny is I was watching that video and I don't know what is in my mind right now, but all I was thinking, I was like, I gotta make some boom t-shirts or something, like just shirts that say boom with an exclamation point on it, and then on the back it'll say like blockchain and booze, or I don't know, something
maybe on sale at LA Blockchain Summit. We could maybe put it there. Ooh. There you go.
Well, I already decided today, I didn't tell anyone, including you, Matt, that I think Punk Ape Strong is going to have to release an LP at LA Blockchain Summit. And there's going to be some hoops you have to jump through to get one, but you'll physically get like a physical vinyl record by going to like the Boring Stone stage at LA Blockchain Summit. I don't know, something like that. But how ridiculous would it be where it's like cutting edge technology, right? And then, a vinyl record. Maybe if you play it backwards, you'll get like a secret key that unlocks something and you get to redeem an NFT or something. You got to bring it back. But how cool would that be? But okay, before I jump in, episode 105 of Blockchain Booze. 105. Last week was 2 years of Blockchain Booze. If you're watching on Lunar Crush or listening on Blockchain Radio, go to meet.blockchainbooze.io so you can hang with the community. And Crispin is saying, take my money regarding the shirts. But Crispin, Jim, Dan, all you guys back in the chat right now, you guys have earned your t-shirts. I mean, it's a 10-inch vinyl. I was going to do 7-inch vinyls, but if you want me to do a 10-inch one, we could do that too. I don't know. Then I got to actually write more than one song per side, and that's tricky. I
was just hoping for a Boom Goren Yacht Club, and then maybe having Alone in different NFTs, and then dropping the hoodies to everyone with the NFT. Kind of just basically like BAYC, like some of my friends have.
I love it.
That would be pretty cool. So what we could do is I have the little board on the other side of the room right now. It has some random thing on it that my kids did, but it used to say Draper Goren Home on it. And then I switched at one point to say Draper Tezos Home, and I always would change it. Maybe there needs to be Draper Goren Boom. We could do different ones. I don't know, something like that. There's so many things we could do. So much ridiculousness that can be had.
Every time I say Draper Goren Home, my girlfriend thinks I'm saying Draper's going home. So
my God,
a Tim Draper going into his house. NFT
I'm going to try to
series
search
also
for it
really
while
cool.
we're talking about this. I have a blooper reel from a conference I spoke at where this interviewer was asking me about something, and he was saying Draper, Gorin, Holmes, and then he's like, wait, hold on, let's pause. Is it Holmes? Is it home? And then he's like Gorin, Green, Gordon, and he was like trying to figure it out, and he finally figured it out, and then he like misspoke, and then somebody in the back of the room like screamed out, some random voice screamed, Draper's going home. And then I went, Draper going home. And then he couldn't, like, he kept, like, it's this, my friend Michael from the Security Tokens Realized conferences, and he kept misspeaking. And we have a blooper reel of over and over again, him going like saying it wrong, and me going, Draper going home. And it was actually one of the funniest things ever. I'll try to find it and see if we could play it during this right now, but otherwise I'll play it later. But that brings us to today's topic. We were going to talk about Tezos and Tezos DeFi. And Alex, you're the founder of Maverick, which is going to be coming out soon. But you know what? I want to throw something up. I prepared for about 37 seconds before Blockchain and Booze tonight, which is about 36 seconds longer than normal. I'm just giving myself shit.
That's what she said.
Viewers are in for a treat.
I wanted to throw this up on the screen because this is the screenshot that's been going around lately from Lunar Crush. Obviously, I'm a super fan of Lunar Crush. You've all heard me talk about it 8 billion times. But if you look at this chart, the thing that makes it really, really interesting is this is the social volume across all of the crypto network of all cryptocurrencies. And if you look at social volume of cryptocurrencies, number 5 right here is Tezos. So literally, and earlier, I think when it was being shared, it was number 4. But to know that it's in the top 5 of the most spoken about on social media and in the media tokens is pretty friggin' incredible. So Alex is here. He's going to tell us a little bit about some DeFi going on Tezos, but I also may bring some of the audience members up on so we can talk about it a little more. But Alex, first off, give us your background and tell us about Maverick. I know you've been on before, but it's still good for anybody new to the audience to hear it.
Yeah. I mean, of course, just to start, I'm quite surprised that the number 1 thing on there is not Ronin right now with everything happening. Like, you just somehow missed $600 million and, no one's noticing for almost a week. But
let me show though. I have this chart under the what's the time frame that I put on this one? I could probably bring it back, but I think I just stuck to the traditional time frame, which I think was a year. So if it was like the day or the week, then that makes way more sense.
Yeah, completely. But hey, everyone, my name is Alex Davis. I'm the founder of Maverick Finance. I'm kind of currently transitioning from my role as the Chief Innovation Officer at Tezos Israel, a grantee of the foundation. Tezos, as you can see on the hoodie. I basically quite a while ago said to myself that there's a dramatic lack. Every time especially with you, my mind keeps running back to Hebrew, and then I have to sit here and pause and awkwardly think,
translate.
what's that?
I told
what's
Matt
that word?
Day, I'll throw something out there. I'm going to brag a little bit because I have the Israeli name, and my parents are Israeli, so they speak to me in Hebrew. I respond in English, and I never do business in Hebrew or anything. But one of our first deals we did was with this great company in Israel called Innovesta. And they no longer really do blockchain stuff, but maybe they will. There's some tie-in there, but they're really, really smart people. And Karen, their CEO, when I came on the call, I heard start to kind of apologize to the rest of the board members. And because it was just it was a shareholder meeting. I'm not a board member or anything, but one of the board members was like, oh man, Alon's here. We're going to have to switch to English. And she was starting to like apologize to them. And I was like, no, just do the call in Hebrew. And I was expecting when I told them that, for myself to not understand half of what was going on, just because I was like, business in Hebrew, it's just going to be, I'm going to miss like
a balagan. It's going to be a balagan.
I feel like I killed it. I feel like it was great, and I understood everything, and I had some points to make, and it was all great. So if you want to throw out any Hebrew, we could do like test my Hebrew skills, like give me like blockchain terms in Hebrew. You can make shit up. It could be a new game that only you and I will enjoy. It's kind of like Punk Ape Strong. I think I am the only one that actually enjoys the songs.
Do you know how you like actually say decentralized network in Hebrew? Because it sounds so weird. Every time I hear it in a conversation, I'm like, that's not okay. Like this doesn't do decentralization justice, and it's reshet mefuzeret. And it's just it doesn't
sounds like
it
a
doesn't do
confused
it.
network. It sounds like you were saying like somebody like, because isn't that word mefuzal or something like that? It sounds like you're saying somebody's confused, like somebody's like, I don't know, like if you were saying
Muzal is weird.
Yeah, muzal is weird. So yeah,
so I don't know. It just doesn't do it justice, really. But yeah, so a while ago I saw a deep need for DeFi on Tezos, and even still today we really do. And considering the technology, always every 3 months we basically roll out on-chain upgrades without any hard forks, and the security tokens that are coming to Tezos constantly. So I decided to start a DeFi-based or a DAO-based DeFi platform to really get that more in order correctly. And that's Maverick. We'll be launching soon. It's been quite an incredible journey. I mean, we've got basically 7 full-time devs starting, 2 more coming in next week. But it is incredible how much of a beast this has turned into, really.
For sure. It's pretty, it's amazing how much Tezos is growing, the DeFi ecosystem in general there, and what you guys are building, right? I think that things are getting more and more mature, and there's been ebbs and flows with Tezos DeFi, and I think it also rolls along with just normal market conditions on any on any network or the whole space in general. But in general, I'm using the word general a lot, but in general, I think I just seeing behind the scenes, there's so much maturity and so much growth happening, and the various bridges and things like that. BB Studios, I'm going to probably call you up to hop on a little later to give your experience. But BB Studios says, I use Tezos every day, ETH maybe once or twice a month. And I think that most people do that. I use ETH sparingly because of transaction fees and things like that. You can't goof around, and every time you goof around, you spend $20, $50, $100 just to test something or play around. On Tezos, I've sent random notes to people and airdrops and goofed around, and I hung out with the team from Securities the other day, and they're doing so much fun stuff that makes me want to goof around and do other things with them. And I just know that those experiments my mom's watching. Hi, Emma. So the in general again, and you can't have fun in the same way you used to, right? Like beginning of quarantine, my son and I were doing those poo-poo.eth drops and things like that. Those drops at the time I thought were really expensive. We spent $200, but now they would cost tens of thousands of dollars to do. It's ETH.
I think I went over this. I can curse, I think, at will on the show. It's 3 a.m. and I'm drinking whiskey. So
Alon's mom is watching.
Yeah. But then again, he's really fun. So I have a feeling that she's probably up that,
it's all
the
good.
more fun alley.
She'll be proud.
It's not in Hebrew, so she'll be okay. But the ETH is fucked. I mean, really on just a multitude of levels. And it's got first mover advantage, right? It's massive. They've really built up this enormous wealth creation for so many people that it's built up really its own economy. But in terms of ETH, it's built by devs for devs, and it doesn't really scale for humans. I don't know how to really put it this way. Yes, there are layer 2s.
I don't think it's completely screwed, but I do think that I've had 3 sips of my drink. But I think that it is this situation where it's hurting itself from a mass production standpoint, right? Or a mass adoption standpoint, where you could launch a Maverick for everybody, right? For if I have $10 or if I have $10,000, it's going to be useful for me, right? But with Ethereum, there is a bit of it's a bit of a walled garden. Even if you don't think about it being actually walled, it's walled based on the fact that there's this hurdle of having to have enough money to even afford to participate. That's not okay.
We couldn't launch.
People scaling and figuring it out, but there's already Tezos that exist that's done, right?
I wouldn't say that they're scaling Tezos. I mean, like even Polygon for the most part doesn't even settle transactions mostly on Ethereum. It's virtually its own layer one, but it's and I don't like we wouldn't be able to launch Maverick on Ethereum. It wouldn't be feasible considering the intricacies of the system. We're actually working through some of our auditing stuff right now, and the sheer size and scale of Maverick as a fully fledged DAO from all the interactions that are on chain. I mean, imagine you've got these Oracle nodes that sign price feeds for an Oracle, but they also vote on governance. And we've got 4 different types of governance voting. We've got staking, yield farms, dynamic savings rates for algorithmic stablecoins. I mean, you would not be able to do this on Ethereum without having every transaction be worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. So Ethereum, aside from gas fees, because there are plenty of other chains aside from Tezos with low gas fees, that's not the reason to choose Tezos. But from an Ethereum standpoint, it's built by developers for developers. It doesn't, what really reminds me of this one time, it was funny, it was years ago, and my best friend from Los Angeles, Persian Jewish kid. So he was in for a wedding in Israel, and I was laughing my ass off because I think it was like Christmas Eve, and we were at a wedding, and Ethereum had updated over the weekends. They decided, the core dev team decided to do an upgrade over the weekends. No one updated, and then they did it on Christmas, and then 6 days later they did it on New Year's, and I'm just like, do you guys not effing learn? Why do you think that this is a smart idea? And you see this with everything that Ethereum does. It's great. There are geniuses behind it, don't get me wrong, but just because you're smart doesn't mean that you're practical. And Ethereum, I think, shoots itself in the foot constantly.
It's true. I think that there's just so many of these situations, right? We see it. I see it from people that pitch to me that have brilliant ideas, that are building really intricate things, really good, high quality engineers, but they don't know how to do the front end experience or the user experience or the front end of the interface. So I remember meeting once, probably one of the, and this is the screwed up thing. I don't even remember I don't remember who it was or what the product was, but I remember at the beginning days of crypto, beginning days of me knowing I was going to try and invest in crypto companies. I was working for a fund. It was pre-DGH. A company came to pitch to me that was doing fantasy sports, but sports betting, but on the blockchain in this really cool way. And I remember thinking it was one of the coolest ideas I'd ever seen anyone build. And it was the person I spoke to was clearly a genius, and he was the engineer that had built it. And then I saw the product and I couldn't figure out how to use it. And I was and I couldn't understand it from a front end, but he was explaining to me, he was showing me the things that were happening on chain. He was showing me the data that was being collected and the way it worked and everything. And when he showed it to me and explained each little thing, it was crazy cool. But then I said, okay, maybe I need to spend some more time. I'm just not getting it. He sent it to me. And I remember sitting on it for an hour and just going, this is so confusing. And he even knew he needed that help and whatever. And then I don't think it ever really fully launched in the way he wanted to, because he needed that co-founder, the person who could translate.
When it comes to DeFi, though, do you differentiate between the retail consumer and the institutional consumer, right? Does complexity matter as much with the institutional investor, where perhaps a very large chunk of money is sitting waiting, right? Versus the retail investor, yes, where we'll get a couple hundred, couple thousand maybe here and there.
I would argue it actually makes more of a difference for the institutionals, institutional type of investors, because if you're going on to adapt, I mean, why do you think Celsius is so successful? I was just on a panel with at the Finance Today Summit with Alex Mashinsky, the CEO of Celsius. And he really is, phenomenal. He was one of the first speakers I think I saw in crypto in person. And Celsius is great for institutions because they make it really simple. You just send us your money and we do everything else with it. When it comes to actual DeFi, institutions are much more risk averse than a retail investor are, and they're not going to go pour $100 million into an audited smart contract, even an audited smart contract that they can earn higher yields than a bank. And then it really comes down to security and also the UI UX. I mean, it's like, this is one of my issues with DeFi on Tezos, is that all of a sudden, like, a bunch of people in Tezos were like, hey, you know what? Let's rename everything that's in DeFi to make it sound unique for Tezos. And I was like, we are not doing that. There are names and there's nomenclature that people understand. And we would like this to get past, maybe 15 people. So let's use the same words everyone's using. So I think for institutions, it makes even a bigger difference so that they understand it more. And I think that they're slower moving than retail, because it's easy to throw $100 into a DeFi product. It's hard to throw 100 million.
It's true. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. I mean, Matt, we met you because you were part of the Tezos community, right? So
yep.
It would be interesting to get your take on what set that apart and why you were hanging out in the Tezos community when, Ethereum exists and all the rest of the networks. Like, what drew you to Tezos?
Yeah, for me, I'm a perpetual learner, right? Went undergrad, master's, PhD, and just absolutely love learning, right? During the pandemic, I had all this free time on my hand, and I'd always been playing in the crypto market, but mainly Bitcoin, ETH, right? The traditional stuff on centralized stock exchanges or centralized crypto exchanges. And I was losing my ass. And I thought, there's more to this, right? There's more to this than me just sitting here trying to time the market right, and started digging in. And the more I started researching, the more I kept coming back to simplicity in transactions and the lower transaction fees. That brought me to Tezos. And as I tried both ETH and Tezos, ETH just got so expensive for the average consumer like myself that I couldn't play on it. To your point, I might have been able to do a financial transaction based on the money that I was playing with at that time, maybe once a quarter, maybe once every other quarter, even, to make it make sense. So I thought, why am I even messing around on this, and just solely focused on Tezos and was deep diving. Luckily, I got in right as the ecosystem, I really started diving in, I should say, as the ecosystem was starting to come online, right? And man, now I do transactions every day on it. It's pennies. It takes seconds for the transaction to finalize. And the community is great, and it just keeps getting better and better. Like that graph showed, just more and more people coming on, extremely intelligent people like Alex and a bunch of others.
Oh God, you're making me blush. I would put myself as extremely good at logistics, but I have thankfully much more brighter people at all of their own roles, including investors and advisors. Cough, cough, Alon Joseph, cough.
DGH, hold on, make this thing blink in the corner.
Yes, right.
We should do that actually. I need to do something like that. Remember, I used to do that with the Rush logo here. I can't find it now. I used to make it blink across the screen like that thing, but I don't have it anymore. But yeah, I can do that in the corner every time.
Yeah.
Just throw out there, of course, that Maverick is a portfolio company of DGH. Full disclosure. I should have said that at the beginning.
I mean, it might have been clear from the press release and the tweets and the everything else, but the extra full disclosure. But there is a lot. I mean, when I got involved in Tezos, it was post ICO. My partners are originally from the ICO stage, the OGs, so to say. I'm like second tier OG, if you want to put it that way. And back then, Tezos wasn't actually ready for anything to actually be built on it. I mean, it took a lot of heat for not having anything built on it. But for the first long while, the tech simply wasn't at the place it needed to be to build on top of. It was great as a layer one, but not so necessarily great as a smart contract layer to build dApps on top of. So as it I was there really, it was right before that period, to watching it turn into this phenomenal chain to actually build on top of. There are development tooling issues. Don't get me wrong. There are some issues with people not wanting to speak up about the problems of Tezos, and I'm right there that likes to kind of be like, hey, this is a problem. Like, why are we not talking about this, guys? Like, let's fix these problems. But I kind of took it upon my shoulder to to lift the Tezos DeFi ecosystem up and help build it, both from everything that we do at Tezos Israel and in the ecosystem in Israel, with our dealings with the foundation, with bringing in ecosystem partners, to also from the DApp side with Maverick and helping different entrepreneurs that are looking to build on Tezos, not just from like a, hey, you know what, like for example, Tezos Israel is the entity that essentially got Celsius Network to integrate Tezos for lending. And so, like, yes, it's wonderful. I mean, like, I really love Celsius. I kind of use them for a lot of things, both good and bad, simply because they're such a powerhouse in a good way. But Celsius is a remarkable entity to adopt Tezos. But what you need to spur this grassroots DApp ecosystem of building DeFi on Tezos. And like, that's one thing where I want Maverick to excel at. But we've also got some other entities like Uves, for example, Plenty as well. Some have gone the way of the dodo, but Tezos has a really good tech. It's the best tech that's out there for a layer one. A lot of people ask me like, oh, how come you don't go like layer two? How come you're building on Tezos? And I was like, listen, Maverick's a DAO bank. Banking is a long-term game. I'm not doing this to like ICO 50 mil and be dead by 2023. So it's
wait, you're not?
I mean, look at dead by 2024.
This is a long game. This is a long game, and I'm joking, obviously, but it's there's so. I mean, I think there's so much opportunity, and I think that a lot of people, it's easy to, right? And it's easy to get caught up in it. We do it with the NFTs that we have. We have it, we do it with so much that we do. And if we're trading and crypto, it's really, really a short game. But for DGH, what we do, for example, and how my personality is, and how I think many of ours are, is it's a really, really long game. And I know we're in crypto, and like a year is like 7, it's like dog years, but it really is something that we need to work on for the long time. And if you're trying to, Steven Rusi, oh my God, he's an OG. He's in the chat asking where the booze is. So everyone show your booze real quick. We have to be focused on the long term, and there's no longer sell, by the way, in terms of institutional and banking, right? Like, there's no longer sell, and DeFi is something they're just now kind of learning about and touching.
They're still not learning it. I mean, ATMs are still using Cobalt, which is a outright joke in terms of a dev language, but it's really something they don't understand. I mean, like yesterday, so like to bring in a little bit of a family story, and alone every time we're talking, your kids are running around, which is always, that's the thing I loved about COVID the most, is that it reminded everyone that we're human beings, which
Yes.
has been really wonderful. So, last night I came home like really late from the office, and I told our daughter, who's 9, that, it's like, okay, enough Netflix, watch something educational. She's like, oh, I watched everything educational on Netflix. And, like, she was born and raised in Israel. So she's got that like Israeli attitude. No one tells you your kids are going to be Israeli when you move to Israel. It's something Nefesh B'Nefesh never tells you. Mrs. Gorin, you might know this, but I was like, listen, when I was your age, I never got this much TV. And the chutzpah on her, the audacity. She goes, yeah, because when you were a kid, there wasn't TV. And I was like, I was just thinking to myself, like, I didn't say this, but like, I was just thinking to myself, like, you little shit. But it was, so I looked it up. I actually researched. I went on Wikipedia. So I looked up when TV was.
Hey, when I was a kid, you had to get an encyclopedia out.
You had to get off the couch to turn the knob on the TV, right? Like,
but at least it existed. In my times, we had to get like the dinosaur to, like shift his tail to change the channel. But So I looked it up, and like the TV was technically invented in the 1920s, but didn't become popularized until the 1950s. And the same thing with the internet. It was in the 70s and really didn't take off until about the mid 90s and take off, right? I mean, the iPhone came out in 2007. So, Bitcoin came out 13 years ago. Smart contracts are 7 years old. People, even finding smart contract devs is a pain in the ass. I mean, the rate of adoption relative to other technologies has been dramatically through the roof. So, every time I walk by, I just came back from Dubai, had a remarkable time, had incredible experiences with Joseph. And, you look at these chain shops where you change your dirham to dollars to shekels to euros, whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, like, we're about to go put all of these shops out of business, like not in a bad way where we take away, business from people, but, this technology is simply going to allow efficiency to scale in everything you do digitally with value. And it's something that I really hope to watch in the Security Token Summit in May.
Well, that'll be an interesting thing. So I'm gonna, speaking of security tokens, I'm gonna play a clip really quick that Alex started by saying Draper going home or whatever. What did you say? I'm gonna play that blooper clip, and then we need to jump into Maverick because people are asking questions in the chat. Feel free to throw specific questions in the QA, people who are watching, and I'll throw this up again one more time. If you're on one of the live streams, because I know there's a lot of you on LinkedIn, a lot of you on YouTube, and a lot of you on Twitter, go to meet.blockchainbooze.io because you can ask questions, you can hang out with the community, and you'll be able to turn on your camera in about half an hour and hang out with the community as well if you'd like to. So I'm going to play this clip that's pretty funny. I think it's 2 minutes long. I don't know what it is. I might actually be promoting Onera in it, one of our portfolio companies, because at this conference a little over 2 years ago in London, it was right as COVID was starting to get into the news, and Ami, the CEO, got sick. And I came to the conference and I actually presented his company for him because he had to stay home because he didn't want to be the dude coughing at a conference, right as the news was getting a little hysterical, rightfully so probably at that point, about what was to come. So let's see the blooper reel. I haven't watched it in a couple of years. Let's see if it's as funny as I remember.
Alan, thanks a lot for coming over. You're here with your business, Draper Goran Homes.
Draper Goran Home.
Draper Goran Home. That's like Draper Goran Home. Okay. Alan, great to have you in London. Alan, great to have you in London. We're going to start again. You have me laughing about it. Jesus Christ.
I hope we make a blooper reel version. Draper's going home?
Draper's going home. No, I'm never going to get it now. I'm never going to get it. Okay, stop smiling.
Sorry.
You're serious. You're like a fun guy. You're serious. You're going to be boring. Come on.
There's nothing boring about early stage venture capital.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
it's too good. All right.
Great to be in London with one of the founders of.
Oh, shit. You guys need to leave.
Go around and hide behind the banner.
All right, we got this.
Okay. Great to be in London with one of the founders of Draper Goran Home. How's the show been for you?
It's been incredible. You put on an excellent event. We're so happy to be here. And we recently launched Draper Goran Home officially. Joseph and I were doing Goran Home Ventures. Now Tim Draper has joined us as a partner, and we couldn't be more excited to be here and look at some of the early stage blockchain startups that have come to learn from the institutional players.
Okay, well, brilliant. I look forward to seeing you in more locations as we go around the world.
Thank you so much for having us.
There we go. That was all stemmed by Alex saying Draper's going home or whatever you said. But the funny thing is that conference was the first time I heard somebody yell it in the background, and we just couldn't stop laughing. By the way, Michael, he's the guy who organizes the Security Tokens Realized events, and he's a great guy. He's a co-investor in us in Onera, awesome guy. And by the way, you said STS, Security Token Summit. We're doing it in May. May 16th in New York. The evening before, we'll have an awesome cocktail reception. We'll have a fun time. And you know what? I think the day after is a Tuesday. Maybe we need to figure out a
meetup?
Figure out a blockchain booze live in New York or something. I don't know.
That would be fantastic.
That would be pretty fun. Look at Matt taking notes.
I already have Boom shirts.
That's why he's here. That's why he's
boring
here.
Boring Stone stage.
So Alex, Maverick.
I'm gonna jump into Maverick.
Talk about it a little. I would love to get into it a little bit. The details.
I'm going to go into Maverick a little bit because the panel is supposed to be scaling DeFi on Tezos, and apparently now that needs to become a dramatic event in the back end of things. So Maverick is essentially, if you could imagine, it's a DAO. I'm not saying it's a DAO in the sense of like there's a token. That is not what I'm referring to. It's a decentralized banking ecosystem, for the lack of a better word. It's a digital community-operated credit union in a way. So if you can think about, blockchains don't know smart contracts are actually not that smart if you think about it. So they know the blockchain actually knows blockchain smart contracts, etc. Before anybody starts nitpick, but blockchains know that you might have a certain amount of tokens inside of your wallet, but they don't know what those tokens are inherently worth. So a blockchain requires something called an oracle to feed. I might just be saying really basic stuff to a really technical crowd, so forgive me, guys. But a blockchain essentially needs something called an oracle, which feeds data, in this case, price information, into the smart contract so it can understand stuff that is not natively inside the blockchain. So that could be the price of Bitcoin, the price of Tezos, the price of Maverick, the weather in Los Angeles versus the humidity in Dubai. And that information could be fed on chain. So everyone understands for a decentralized oracle, the go-to idea is Chainlink. And so if you could imagine a oracle node, oracles essentially, Chainlink works in the sense where there are a multitude of nodes that feed this information so that it is decentralized and doesn't rely on one centralized source. But if you could imagine an oracle node that also votes on governance for multiple lending products. So the node itself, that is one way of looking at it. Chainlink doesn't have governance, or Tezos doesn't really have a native oracle on the blockchain layer. So if you could imagine the way that Tezos works, where you take your tokens and, well, not physically, but you stake your tokens to a node. That node votes on your behalf and it validates transactions. Maverick nodes, called satellites, vote on your behalf and they sign the price feeds for a decentralized oracle. That is the basic core governance, really TLDR'd in a nutshell, outside of the 8,000 lines of code that we have. But what really makes it completely decentralized is the fact that not only do we not control Maverick once we launch it, but all of the revenue from the different lending products that we have in our pipeline, starting with an algorithmic stablecoin, roll into an on-chain treasury that the DAO controls. So we don't even control the profits that roll off of Maverick. If we want further funds for development, the DAO has to vote to give us or another party funds for development. So that treasury holds everything on chain. I don't have unilateral control. The team doesn't have unilateral control. The advisors, the investors, don't worry, Alon. I mean, it's a good system. We have a lot of mechanisms.
That's a good thing. It honestly is a good thing if you care about the long term of a project, right? The reason why VCs get a bad rap and get a bad name in certain communities and DeFi communities, because there's certain VCs who try to take control, right? And I've, the only board seats, if I've been on a board of a company, I've done reluctantly, or I've done strategically with the founders because they're like, I need you on the board because I need somebody who's on our side, because when we go to raise more money, that VC is going to want to be on the board and they're going to want to be able to, twist our arms and control things. And I need somebody who'll vote on our side, right? But like, I don't like to be a part of that because we invest so early. I do it because I like the team or the project and the idea, and I want them to run with it. I'm not investing in them to control their company. I'm investing in them because they're better than me at doing what they're doing. And so, it's a much...
it happened right now, actually, with, I think it was A16Z that kind of upended a governance vote on compound finance.
Really?
Yeah, I think they blocked something from going through, actually. But, listen, this is, it's part of the game. However, that being said, the treasury on Maverick is not one treasury. It's actually broken up, if you can imagine it, in different silos. Well, now I'm off camera, but different silos of where that money is colored towards going. If you can think about it as like having little tabs on top. Before the digital days, guys, we had like these little sticky notes that you would put in your book and you can remember where you're supposed to be. So that money is essentially colored in different silos for different use cases. So there's development and marketing silos, or contracts, so to say, but it's easier to say silo. There are two different forms of buybacks on Maverick. There is one to buy back MVK. We don't have a burn. We have a buyback and redistribute. So we have a buyback of MVK on the open market to replenish the yield farms so that we can constantly continue funding our incentives, and also a buyback for MVK in order to fund the oracles, who are the curators of the platform. And by the way, the oracle satellites, or satellite oracles, when they earn MVK, they pay back the rewards based on their delegations back to the delegators. So all you have to do as a stakeholder of MVK is delegate it to a satellite. The satellite signs price feeds and votes on your behalf. When the satellite earns MVK based on the delegations, semi-similar to Tezos, close, but there are little minute differences. When the satellite earns MVK, especially based on the delegated amounts, it pays back those rewards back to the delegate, with the delegate not having to do anything, minus a small fee. So there's a silo for that as well, to replenish the oracle rewards. And so we're probably going to have a relatively slow drip system of our total MVK supply. But and then there's another one which I think is really fascinating, and it's kind of harkens back to Constitution DAO and Links DAO and all these different DAOs that are kind of set up to run in 2022. It's probably going to be the year of the DAO. Is an investment silo. So we're essentially going to use a lot of the turn Maverick into a bit of an investment bank, where from our profits we invest into other on-chain assets, wrapped Bitcoin, maybe wrapped ETH. It'll be the community to decide. I'm not going to push that one, but other Tezos-based DeFi products.
I'd vote for that. Sorry, dude.
And you're more than welcome to, and I encourage it. I'm not correct in all of my views, and that's the beauty of having advisors. It's the beauty of having investors. It's the beauty of always learning.
I could be wrong too. Hey, groups don't always vote the right way together. It's still an investment.
That is true. But so the point of the investment silo. So there's two with the silo. There's one where we build up the funds to invest, and then the DAO gets to choose where those funds go. And then there's another silo which is a little bit more boring, but it's kind of like our balance sheet. So it's where we put the investments after we actually buy them and hold them within the DAO's treasury. So that is Maverick in a nutshell, if I had to explain it simply. And it's quite a mouthful. It's turned into quite a beast.
I think though that the idea of sort of creating a DAO from the beginning that's really going to lead the thing and doesn't control that, or that the DAO controls the treasury, the DAO controls the protocol and the voting and where things go and how things work from the beginning is really exciting. I think to have something done right from the beginning. And I know that it takes time, and that's a frustration, especially on Tezos where there isn't a lot of this stuff yet, but I think it's really exciting. Speaking of DAO voting, BB Studios brought up that there's an ENS vote right now to vote off one of the team members who, by pretty much all accounts is a colossal a-hole that nobody wants to be there anymore. He has enough tokens where he was able to block the vote to kick him out. Which is pretty amazing, right?
That's scary.
That's where we're going to start learning about things like reputation. Some of the things at Prime DAO, I can't overstate how huge of an a-hole this guy is. But the very hateful and bad person, in all accounts. Yeah. But this
in terms of how long it took to actually build Maverick, because we've been talking about this for a really long time, and I have to say, YOLO Baggins, you have a credible handle that you use there. But yeah, the dev tools and documentation on Tezos have been a little difficult to work with.
Oh, he's talking about something.
Yeah, there we go.
Not everybody could see that until I brought it up. Sorry.
Gotcha. So it's been a little difficult to actually deal with. And it is, when it comes to building, these are a lot of things that are in the background that no one really understands. Like, why is DeFi on Tezos? To kind of circle back to the original point of the panel is that, why is Tezos? Why is everything taking so long to build on Tezos? It is a lot more difficult to build on Tezos than it is to build on ETH, and that's something that I think investors and the community need to understand. It's getting better.
I'm sure you're about to answer this, but is it because there just isn't as many things already built that you can kind of choose from a library? Because there's a lot, like if I go to launch some idea that I have, I can jump into GitHub and find some open source Ethereum version of it where me as a not very technical person could hack together some probably really poorly, shoestring and bubblegum version of, but at least I could do it. On Tezos, it takes a little more effort. I was able to do, that one. What was it called when the NFT project, the NFT platform that was open source for a little while? I don't think they support it anymore, but
He Can Nuked?
No. Before they even existed. Anyway. There's projects, but there's clearly not as many on Tezos as there already are on Ethereum. Is it because of things like that? Like the tools don't exist yet because they're kind of disparate and not public yet? Or is it more the actual programming language, the actual product is harder to build on?
It is both and more. To be fair, and listen, I've spent the last several years, integrating Tezos with projects, but it is the fact that there is not so much in terms of what you can copy, paste, and modify for your own idea. It is also the fact that functional programming is more difficult to build, and there are less devs. It is also the fact that it's a little less organized than it should be at the moment. But it's advancing. I mean, I personally know some people who are working on creating a repository of smart contract examples, and that are literally going to be open source that people can go copy, paste, modify for their own accord. We have some progress to be made for dev tools and documentation. It is happening, but there is, I like to call a spade a spade. It could be improved. On the flip
one
side,
I was talking about, by the way, is OpenMinter. I just blanked on the name. So OpenMinter was a cool open source project. I launched rainbowunicorn.fun, my daughter's website, using it, and she sold out of all of her Tezos NFTs. It was pretty radical. I think the website's broken now, though, because I didn't update alongside, because I'm a great engineer and I not so great at that. But yeah, I think there's a lot of differences, right? But when you're building something from scratch, is it on one hand that's a hurdle? It kind of sucks for the growth of the ecosystem. But on the other hand, is it because it's more secure? Is it because it's better in other ways? I know the delegated nature of the proof of stake and stuff that doesn't have to leave your wallet that Tezos does is really, to me, one of the most amazing things. I hate staking on a website, being afraid that website will go down and I'll have to figure out how to do it on chain, or I'll forget that it's there. Things like that are really important to me on Tezos. But from your perspective, building a product,
I don't think it's because of that, really. I mean, Maverick does have exactly what you just said. You actually stake your MVK within the platform and delegate it to a satellite node. And so we have discussed actually having like an email notification sort of list for those who actually want to do that on their own accord.
Underrated, or I don't know if underrated is the right term. It's an underutilized thing in crypto is so many projects don't even have a way to subscribe for email or get any kind of alerts at all. And what it does too is it kind of screws the project in case they need to do something. What if like there's an exploit, there's something, there's no way to contact anyone unless they're in the Discord or unless they're following them on Twitter. And it's easy to miss a tweet, right? Like it gets buried.
Yep.
It's insane.
We actually have in terms of exploits so there are two different types of governance modules on Maverick. There's one that is the longer core governance contract updates, really. And that's a 3-week long process with multiple periods, similar to Tezos, but shortened. And then we have actually these quick threshold votes. So, obviously, if we want to go buy Bitcoin, we're not going to have a 3-week vote to go, buy Bitcoin. So we have a threshold vote where it's really just like a number of satellites have to signal that they support or don't support the vote or pass. And once you get past that threshold in a quick vote, like it can be done in 5 minutes if everyone's kind of sitting in front of the computer. We have something like that gives admin status to the council, the Maverick Council. It's a 5 signature multi-sig made up of different individuals, and only if you get we're working out the final numbers. I think it's like 67 to 80% of the delegated, the staked and delegated tokens. We don't take into account the tokens on exchanges and stuff like that. To vote in favor, we can actually break the glass, and that gives the council, thereby the dev team, or a dev team, because it could be voted out from being us, access to pause all the contracts in case of a breach. So it is all these things need to be taken into account, and I think it's really, like you said, emails are an underrated. Emails, break glass, all these safety mechanisms. Like there's sometimes too much decentralization. We need to build for the real world.
Well, I think that like you decentralize my money and the product and the way in which you can interact, right, and allow everyone to participate, but also give me an email notification or let me subscribe to certain alerts, right? And I have to do it for Ethereum, for example. I don't have any products that I know exist in Tezos, but on Ethereum, one of my favorite products I talk about all the time, and I wish they were a portfolio company of ours because I met them a little too late, is Xerion, for example. And I get mobile notifications, I get desktop notifications when something comes in my wallet, when something comes out. Over the weekend, I was freaking out because I saw some contract call on one of my wallets, and I was like, I didn't do that. What the hell just happened? I was, I'm looking around trying to figure out what happened, and it turned out it was actually a bit of a false alarm and alert that came, hours late for some reason on mobile, but it freaked me out. But I saw it happen in real time. If that was an actual thing, I could have transferred out some NFTs or transferred out something, or at least had a fighting chance, right?
It needs to be optional though, because a lot of the people that want to be in this world, the funny thing is that like the overwhelming, both in research and in my experience, no one really uses crypto for like bad things. They're just extremely tired of the fact that like they have no control over their finances, or the government is trying to track everything they do. And if you look at what happened in Canada, it's insane. So yes, it should be optional, but it should also be there. These little touches of...
There's not one anonymous person, though. There's not one, or at least pseudo-anonymous person that doesn't also have a pseudo-anonymous Gmail account too. Like it's not like if they add a fake Gmail account that has a fake name on it, they're exposing themselves to anything. I think it's a little silly, like when people are like, we're totally decentralized, we're not even going to ask for your email address. Like make it optional because I want to give my email address, because I'm not afraid of that type of surveillance, because I'm, I am what I am. But it's an option, right? Like it's not, I'm not saying force everyone to give your name, and I don't like that, right? Like there's a lot of controversy. Bored Apes just did that with one of their things, right? They asked everyone to KYC if they want to be a part of something. We don't even know what it is. And fine, you don't like that. You don't have to like that. don't do it. But like an email address or like having an email list to update people is totally, should be
Yeah,
able
it's
to
not
be
so
done.
bad. It's not so bad. Decentralization is a spectrum, really, and again, harkening back to scaling DeFi on Tezos, there's a plethora of things that we need to do. I mean, fiat-based stable coins. We need to bring in liquidity. The foundation needs to step up its game in supporting DeFi. The grants need to go out for DeFi. We need to build more bridges. We need more oracles. There's a lot of work that is coming to scaling DeFi on Tezos. The thing that makes it really exciting for me is honestly the lending products that we can do on tokenized securities. And so I've been having some discussions with some people. It's a little bit early, but I was thinking maybe I should like hop over to New York for the Security Token Summit. But the next one, there we go.
Is it really blink super fast for you guys? Because I've just clicked like crazy on my screen. It doesn't look like it does that.
No, it was really well done. It was fast, but it was good. It reminded me of those like old Batman things where like he would like throw a punch, like, bam. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah, pow, bam, yeah, like
boom.
Boom, yeah, boom. There we go. I'll have to make a video like with a boom thing with me pretending to be Batman, like punching you in the face over a live stream.
Yeah, with Doug DeMuro, please. Please. But so what I'm really excited about is what we can do with Maverick, and let's say again, like DeFi is a spectrum.
So you're saying DeFi, but like utilize regulated, not totally decentralized assets, because if it's a security token, there's KYC involved, there's things like that, right? So let's say, for example, I take ownership in a company that I have as a digital asset, but KYC'd, of course, for regulatory purposes, but somehow attest that I own that or lock it in some way and borrow against it on Maverick. So borrow from a decentralized place from a regulated asset.
Yeah, so that's essentially like the long run idea is having these permission DeFi pools, either algorithmic stablecoins like USDM or a fiat-backed stablecoin, but essentially people can pool their money together into a permission pool where you KYC the people who make their deposits there, and then others. And then again, it could also be an algorithmic stablecoin, so it really depends on how it plays out. But you essentially use your digital security token to lock it up into some form of an escrow account, smart contract. I love that. Like, oh yeah, we're going to build escrow on smart contracts. Like, smart contract is an escrow account. So,
yeah.
So essentially, you lock it up into a smart contract and you borrow against it based on users' deposits or an algorithmic stablecoin that you mint yourself. So I have actually a meeting on Thursday about a really good buddy of mine who actually happens to work at long story short, but he happens to be the CEO of a new security token company. And Alon and Matt, we should probably talk about this later. So,
yeah, man.
I'm listening.
So essentially, they're looking to do mortgage-backed security. Oh, I see that pen. Yeah, so mortgage-backed securities lending, and this is something that already occurs all the time. I mean, mortgage-backed securities.
This isn't digital. If I want to borrow against my condo, I've got to literally, call the bank, spend weeks, have them do appraisals, do all these things. But all these things, like if I want to borrow against my Bitcoin on Celsius, using Celsius as an example. I can't because I'm American, but if I was you in Israel, I could do it in one click. And it takes 30 seconds. And I've watched the demo, I've seen it done. It's wild, right? So it should be that simple on a security as well. So I love that you're going to tap into that. Guys, we're running out of time, and I want time to jump at the tables backstage and hang out with the community, or I'm going to at least do that for a bit before I sneak off for dinner. And, but before we go, I'm excited that thank you again for joining us, Alex. And I think that we have, for those of you watching, this is kind of one of the greatest perks of my jobs. I get to hang out with awesome guys like Alex and get to learn about what's going on Tezos and different networks and get opinions and things like that. I didn't even really get to all the questions that people threw in there. So we're going to have to do it again, obviously. And I wanted to actually throw BB Studios up on stage with us and ask some questions, but we're going to have to do it. We're just going to need to do this again. But Alex, before you go, give us all of the breakdown of where to find you, where we should be looking for Maverick and following along.
So that's actually why I put the Mavericks, Twitter handle in the, if you can see it on the screen there, right underneath me. Yeah, there we go. Every URL on the internet is taken, so we spell it a little differently. But you could find me through Mavericks posts as well. I'm tagged there, Alex Davis. I really have the most simplistic name in the world. There's like 1,001 of me on LinkedIn. So just look through Mavericks posts and you'll find me as well. And look, we're coming out in the next several months. We're going to have quite an exciting update when we finally finalize the exact date. And, well, I'm sure I'll be here again soon. And thank you guys for having me on here, of course, as always. And whoever wants to chat, I will be here. It is 4 a.m., but I've got Japanese whiskey. So I will be in these chat rooms for a bit. Last time, I think I was up till 7 a.m. with some of the people here. So
dang, you're a rock star. So yeah, everyone, if you're not on there, there's a good segue. Go to meet.blockchainbooze.io so you can hang with us. I'll throw out another plug for Security Token Summit that we mentioned in May. That's going to be a great event. We're going to be, we'll definitely be there. Matt and I, especially Matt, are knee deep in the planning and the organization of it. So hope to see some of you there. Thanks, Alex. It's been amazing.